In today's video, I'd like to take a look at the circle of fifths and specifically talking about the dominant keys. Now, the dominant key signatures are going to be the ones that really delve into the sharps. And to be a little more specific, they're only going to encompass the right side of the circle of fifths. So we are not today going to be talking about the left side. So let's understand something. We want to know the word dominant in music. It just really means 5. Okay, so it just means the 5th degree. So 5 though, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to start over here with C. And C is not really part of the dominant keys, and it's not really part of the subdominant keys either, okay? But it's just our starting point for either one of them. And what we're going to do is let's go ahead and write out, I'm going to move this over here a little bit, and let's go ahead and write out the notes of the C major scale. D, E, F, G, A, B, and C. Okay, and what I'm going to do is kind of point out the 5th degree here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So my 5th degree is G major. Okay, and that's going to be the next key that goes over here. And we'll worry about the notes and some of the other things later on. Right now we're just sort of kind of putting this together in order in a pattern. And then what I want to go ahead and do is now I want to write out the G major scale. Okay, so let's write out the G major scale. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Don't forget my sharps. And I want to go ahead and once again find the 5th degree of the G major scale. Okay, we're going to write that one over here. Okay, and so essentially you're starting to see a pattern here. Let's go ahead and do a few more, and let's go ahead and figure out, now we start again with D. And so I go D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C sharp, and then back to D. And I want to point out what's the 5th degree of D major, and it is A major. And I'm going to write that out over here. Okay, let's go ahead and do 2 more iterations of this, and starting again from A. B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, and back to A. I'm going to do the 5th degree of A major, and it's going to be E. All right, so we put our E major over here. Let's see, now let's go ahead and do E major is our next scale. F sharp, G sharp, A, B, C sharp, D sharp, back to E. Again, I want to point out what is the 5th degree of E major, and that would be a B major. We're going to write B major over here, and finally, let's go ahead and go with B major, C sharp, D sharp, E, F sharp, G sharp, A sharp, B, or let's go ahead and locate the 5th degree of B major, and that would be F sharp, and I'm going to write F sharp over here. Okay, maybe I'll just go ahead and go one step further, and let's just write out the notes of F sharp major, not that it's necessarily important for what we're doing at this exact moment, but that would look something like this. Okay, why is it called the circle of fifths? Well, it's because from C to G is 5 scale degrees apart. That's a 5th. And G to D, well, D is the 5th degree of G. And in fact, let's do this in a different color so that we can maybe see these. These are basically vectors, right? They're kind of curvy looking vectors, but in a sense, they're vectors, they're distances. Okay, and so we have the distance from C to G is a 5th. This is the 5th degree. The distance from G to D is a 5th. Okay, the distance from D to A is a 5th. The distance from A to E is a 5th. The distance from E to B is a 5th. And you're starting to see this is why we call it the circle of fifths, and the distance from B to F sharp is also a 5th. So these are all 5 scale degrees apart. So once again, let's kind of look for the patterns here. We started off with C major and we counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We get to G. That is going to be our new starting point, and we write out G here. And then we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 from G, and we write that out here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 from D, and we write that out here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 from A, and we write that out here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 from E. We write that out here. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 from B, and we write that out here. And so we can see that there's definitely a pattern here. And this gives us the scales in the appropriate order. And actually, I guess realistically, this is sort of our first starting point. So what is our first key that's on the circle of fifths? It would be C, then G, then D, then A, then E, then B, then F sharp. And I could have also done that downwards, right? C, G, D, A, E, B, and F sharp. And that would encompass the right side of the circle of fifths. Now, why is this important? What's the whole concept? Well, it puts the scales in order of alterations. And I want to write that out. It puts them in order of alterations. Order of sharps, you could think of it that way as well. Order of alterations. And I say order of alterations because, when eventually we're going to be talking about the subdominant side as well, and those are flats. And so instead of saying order of sharps and order of flats, a little confusing, we can just simply say order of alterations because that's what sharps and flats do. They alter notes. So this is putting them in order. And I noticed that the key of C major, we've kind of discussed this before, but the key of C major has 0 sharps. G major has 1 sharp. D major has 2 sharps. A major has 3 sharps. E major has 4 sharps. B major has 5 sharps. And finally, F major has 6 sharps. And that's sort of the idea, is we're having pattern. It lets us discover patterns in music. And it makes it far easier to memorize scales if I can sort of memorize its relative placement in the circle of fifths. And if I just ask you to randomly memorize 12 scales, you might find it difficult. I think I would find it difficult. But if I had something like this, and I do, and I take full advantage of it, it definitely makes itself useful. So that is sort of what the circle of fifths is useful for. We'll go ahead and continue to sort of drive this point home in the next video.